What's up, y'all? My name is Ian Edwards, even though it says Aaron Brungardt if you're watching on YouTube. But it's Ian Edwards. I'm just hijacking Aaron's account. That's our producer. Thank you for letting me hijack it and do the pod. And welcome to the Soccer Comic Rant, everybody. Happy, scary Halloween. And we're going to talk about some scary things that's going down, like Liverpool losing again to like a relegation team. That is scary for all Liverpool fans. I mean, is Klopp good? What's wrong with the team? Like, is this a problem that could be fixed? We don't know. It's scary if you're a Liverpool fan right now. This might be scary if you're Klopp. And we'll talk about Brighton Hove. Sometimes you shouldn't give someone a job because they won't appreciate the job that you gave them. Graham Potter, Deserving did not appreciate the fact that you vacated the position and got him a job. And he treated you like shit when you came to visit and got his first win, which was your first loss for Chelsea. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about, speaking of Halloween again, how scary the end of the Manchester United-West Ham game was if you were a United fan. That shit was as Halloween and scary and as like the Undertaker sitting back up as you can get, not trying to die and trying to come back. We're going to talk about Crystal Palace, Southampton. What else are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about some Champions League situations and Spurs. Speaking of like Friday the 13th character that won't die, Bournemouth was like, we got this 3 points, we got this tie, no, we got this loss. So we'll get into all of that. What up, Lee? Hudson, stand-up comic from England, Southampton fan.
Hey, I'm good-ish.
Good-ish. I understand. But let's get back. And everybody that watches, like and subscribe, thank you all for watching. I know I keep saying I'm going to respond to the comments onto the YouTube videos. I've just been busy doing this and other things. I'm going to start getting back to commenting onto that. We can have some fun under there too. The debates can continue in the chat. Thank you for listening on iTunes, Spotify, Libsyn, Stitcher, Omni Studio, and All Things Comedy, wherever you're listening. Yeah, man, let's get this. And let's talk about what's going on at Liverpool. What's your personal assessment? Like, because everybody's throwing in their 2 cents, but can you put your finger on this?
It's a tough one because like we've been saying all season, like they sort of have these moments where you think, oh no, they figured it back out now, like they're back on track, and then it just kind of goes. I mean, obviously injuries undoubtedly haven't helped, but the thing is, every team gets injuries, and you can't allow your team to completely have their form fall off a cliff if you're missing 2 or 3 people. Like, I mean, it's going to hurt teams, but it's you got to deal with that still. Like, the team they put out the weekend still should have been good enough to beat Leeds. The team they put out against Nottingham Forest should have been good enough to beat Nottingham Forest. These clubs have got a lot of money. They should be able to have depth in that squad and deal with those players. It might, take a little bit of edge off them, but it shouldn't completely tank their season to deal with that. So, the injuries are a factor, but I don't know what it is. Like they just aren't doing what they do well. The press doesn't seem to be that effective. The attack, like they still seem to be creating a lot of chances in games, but the attack's just not really clinical anymore. I know Salah got 1 in this game, but I mean, they had, just looking at the stats, 22 shots, 10 on target. That's enough to win a game. Yeah. But they only put 1 of them away. I like Nunez. I think he does. You watch him in a game, he does all the things that you want a forward to do. He works his ass off. He gets in good positions, but he's not quite taking his chances, which I think that will come. But you if you've got a player like him up front and you're sort of trying to allow him a little bit of time to assimilate and find his rhythm, you kind of need everyone around him to be firing, and they've not got that at the moment. Like Firmino's done it in spells this season, but then he again didn't really do it on the weekend against Leeds, and Salah's been inconsistent. Diaz has been injured, and when he has played, he hasn't looked quite as effective as he did last season. So yeah, and obviously the Mane loss, it's all kind of adding up for them, but they're not. I don't know. It's just something's not right there, is it? It's not clicking. It's not as fluid as it has been previously. And this is where Klopp really earns his money now. Like he built a great team. That team is maybe going through a little bit of a transitional period because obviously, like Mane left, things like that, and they've got players like Henderson getting old, Milner getting old, and this is where managers really earn their money, when they have to try and sort of regenerate a team. There's managers who've done that. Like obviously Ferguson was probably the best example of all time of a manager who did that for however many decades at Man United. Like every time he had a great team, he knew how to phase them in. He had a couple of rocky seasons when he was sometimes in those transitions, but he always picked it back up and made them great again. And that's what Klopp's got to do. He's got to find out a way to, we're getting a bit MAGA here, aren't we? Make Liverpool great again.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa, did I just hear what I thought I heard, bro? Damn. Jesus Christ.
But that's what he's got to do, though. He's got to find a way to make them, that functioning
You
elite level
almost
team
said it
again. Yeah, I'm going on a march after I finish it.
Apparently.
But no, it's like that. It's up to him to find these solutions now, and whether that's a change of tactics, whether or not it's a change of personnel in January to try and bring a couple of players in that are going to complement his style of play, because right now the team he's got doesn't seem to be able to do it as effectively as they once did, and they're just letting in goals that they shouldn't really let in, and then missing chances at the other end. And yeah, it's a little bit of bad luck in some games, but I mean they've lost too many games this season for it to be purely bad luck.
Right. Here's the thing. For me, is I'm assuming it's like what you said in the area of the midfield, that's their problem. But because last year they got to the finals of 4 competitions and they were very competitive and lost the league by a point, that's the only thing to assume. And that's the problem. Because if you knew what the problem was precisely, you could you pointed to those stats. And yeah, you should win a game with those stats, especially against Leeds. And then you don't win, and then you didn't win the week before. Then you're like, what really is the problem? And not knowing what really is the problem is a big problem. Because when you do know what the problem was, like the year when they almost fell out the top 4 completely, it was like, it's all defenders. So you like get new defenders as backups, and then the next year, get all your defenders in shape and you'll be good. And they came second and almost overtook Man City. But now it's like, you have to be like, shit, is it the midfield? There's injuries, but like you said, it's not that crazy. It's not crazy injuries. So what is it? Like, it's the same coach, pretty much the same team. Yeah, Mane's gone, but Diaz but they do have injuries like Jota, Diaz, and Nunez just came back. And Firmino was a bit part player the last few years anyway, so to try to ask more of him now. So the Klopp, to earn his money, has to figure out what the real problem is, on what specific player. So it's to me, that's the hard part, like when there's nothing that clear and glaring. It's probably everything that you said. Also, the 7-year cycle, like when you start the 7-year cycle, your team starts going up and forward. And then after 7 years, those players have played out their time with you pretty much, and you have to rotate again. So people say like Klopp has a 7-year problem, but anybody would. If you like Ten Hag 7 years from now, after building this team, in 7 years, that team, you can't start the team that started most of this year that's been successful for us. So every coach is going to have that issue. So it's not like some stigma against Klopp the way some people are suggesting it. It's just, that's just time, period. So
and I mean, it's already obviously a massive kudos to a manager if they've been
Mhm.
at a club long enough to have this problem.
Right.
It tells you that they've done something great if they've lasted more, because most managers in the modern age, they last 3 seasons at best,
Mhm.
the majority of them. So if a manager has lasted that long at a club, then you've got to say, well, they've done something right at some point.
Right.
And obviously the levels he elevated them to, they hadn't been at those levels for, since the 80s.
Right.
So he deserves massive credit for that. But yeah, it's how can
100%.
can he get it back? And if so, how?
And then the other issue is too, he just needs to play Man City every week. So if he could swap out, trade games with Man City with other teams, like where he was successful against them in the Charity Shield, he's successful in them in the only game that they played this year. So that's the team he could beat for sure. Bring them on all day. So who knew they step up for real against City? But yeah, you know we'll see. This is the next level of coaching. Not winning right away, not winning, getting to eventually winning your first few years, and then sustaining that over a period past 7 years is the other thing. Like even Pep, who's considered the best in the world, hasn't stayed anywhere past 4 years. I think Man City, this is the longest that he stayed, and I think he's in his 5th or 6th year. But you could see where shit, like even if they didn't get Haaland, it would be tough for them to stay where they were. But they were lucky to pull off the Haaland trade, and they made a deal with the devil. They're only going to have him 2 years. So what are they going to do after that? Like this weekend, without Haaland in there, like City kind of shut them down. And if it wasn't for the Grealish free kick and De Bruyne's preciseness, you know, they might have dropped points to Leicester, who's struggling this season. So, we'll really see what's up. I mean, I know there's more to it than that, but it's exciting to see Liverpool struggle. Like I have to say now, I don't think they're gonna win the league or challenge. They could still get top 4. I'm not a fool. Like Klopp might, there's a transfer window coming up. Klopp is gonna have time to think during the World Cup, and he might pull something together right quick when the season starts back up after the World Cup, and they might go on a run. So I'd never count Liverpool out, and so I'd never count them out. So I'd still be like all the teams that's above them, I'd still look over my shoulder and gather as many points as you can, because this Liverpool team might start rolling, and when they start rolling, they're gonna roll. So grab as much points as you can so you can put as much distance between you and them so that they can't overcome the mistakes that they've had or the pitfalls they had early in the season. But football's crazy. Football's crazy. One season, you're challenging for the quadruple, and 12 games later, you don't have a hope of winning any of them. So that's football.
Who knows? They might still do something in the cup, but I mean,
yeah.
they're already. I mean, Newcastle in 4th place at 24 points.
Mm-hmm.
So Liverpool already 7 points behind them, and they look consistent at the moment. Liverpool got a game in hand, but I mean, Liverpool already 6 points behind you guys, same games as well.
Yeah.
So they're already playing catch up a little bit. I mean, it's not insurmountable. I think, if they can sort themselves out, and if they can get into the World Cup break still within touching distance like that, they can make that up if they regroup and figure shit out over the winter. But yeah, I mean, the more the bad form goes on, the bigger the ask gets to do that. Which I mean, I don't hate it though. I mean, it makes the league more interesting. I still think they'll get top 4 personally. I think they'll get there. Like you say, they won't get close to a title challenge now. But I think they can compete for top 4 still. But I mean, like I say, it opens up windows for other teams. I mean, you've got to be happy, obviously, as a United fan, because it's put you guys, even more so in the spot. I mean, you've done it with your own form as well, but equally with other teams like that dropping off a bit. So it's it makes the league interesting.
Yeah, we did not expect them to drop off. Now I had them at the beginning of the season winning the title. I thought it was their time to do it again, and so I'm definitely like, what? Like mouth just wide open, like looking at their results every week, going, how is this happening with the same team from last year minus one player? But yeah, they got injuries and they got age issues, and football sometimes catches all up with you all at once. So, all right, good luck, Liverpool. And I don't mean that. Want to go to Chelsea versus Chelsea versus Brighton Hove. This is score was 4-1. But let me just set the plate before you could tell me how you felt about this game. Score was 4-1. There was 2 own goals, but it's really 3 own goals. Because even though it was the actual Chelsea defender who put the third one in the back of the net, like it was a Chelsea defensive mistake or a Chelsea player trying to get them out of trouble that lost the ball to Brighton Hove players who subsequently put the ball in the back of the net. But De Zerbi, Brighton's coach, what is the irony of you haven't won a game yet for your new club? And this is literally your toughest challenge as the new coach. And you're going up against the old coach who has joined a better team. Like he left this team that he built because there was a better offer on the table. Money, spotlight, better players, and a financial organization to back it. And you took like half the people behind the scenes at the club. And then now you have to beat these people. And you pulled it off. You did. The fans got behind it. And they used their trader energy to cheer their players on. And yeah, man, Brighton Hove pressed early, won balls. And last week we were trying to figure out like who has the advantage, the coach playing his old team or the old team playing their old coach. And this weekend, Brighton Hove, the old team playing their old coach, jilted lovers, revenge football, how dare you leave us, energy, like got in some Chelsea ass. And I guess what I want to ask you mainly is, what is Potter trying to achieve with this formation that he started the game with? Because I'm confused a little bit. But like, if you set up a team like this, what are you expecting? What you trying to get? What's the deal? Say the formation, and then tell me what you think he was thinking.
I mean, I think he's trying to come up with something that it'll be hard for the opposition to read and to prep for, and it's going to cause them problems that they might not know how to stop. Because he played with Sterling and Pulisic as wing backs, but they ain't wing backs. Those guys are going to play like wingers. And then he had a back three, which Cucurella was one of them, and he isn't a centre back. He's left-footed. He can play left of that three, but he's not. He's an attacking left back or a left wing back. That's his position. So, yeah, like I said, I think he was trying to cause them problems. But I mean, he just caused himself problems. That was the thing. He's out tactics himself. And I thing is like
he's out tacticked his players. They're like, we don't understand this.
I kind of admire the desire to experiment and come up with different things and stuff, but because I think he'll learn from it. He's a smart guy. He'll analyze it, see what worked, what didn't. It was mainly what didn't in this one, and I don't think we'll see them get battered like that again. But I mean, you don't really find out what works until you find out what doesn't work. I mean, this clearly doesn't work. Yeah. And it didn't work in a spectacular way. And Brighton attacked them with the same amount of aggression that their fans showed him from the stands. Because I was curious, is he going to get a good reception? Because he did a brilliant job there. Yeah. But fans very rarely forgive anyone for walking out halfway through or partway through a season. Like that's like a big no-no for a lot of people. I think if he left in the summer, he would have gone with a lot of goodwill. but fans get mad as shit. But I mean, I get it because a big club came in, and you don't know when that chance is gonna come again. So I see it from both sides. But I mean, Brighton were good. Take nothing away from Brighton. They, Chelsea have been beating teams with some of these weird formations recently, and Brighton just, they got at them, like you say. They pressed them. They forced the mistakes, and those own goals. Like, Brighton were putting the ball in dangerous areas where the defenders had no choice but to do those things. They weren't sort of crazy unforced own goals. They were like, right, we're going to cross this low into an area where you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to try and put a foot on it and stop it. Otherwise, one of us is going to score, and then it goes in that way. So, and there were warning signs. Like Thiago Silva headed a couple off he cleared a couple off the line before
he
the
had
goals
more
as well.
saves than Kepa.
Pretty much, yeah. So Brighton were doing their thing, and I think there's a lot of underrated players at Brighton as well. Still, like, even when they were playing like well under Potter, there were players like who didn't really get the credit. Like Solly March is a really good player. He kind of goes under the radar a little bit. Pascal Gross, Estupinan.
Trossard is my favorite. Is my favorite Brighton player.
Yeah, he's just
when he's
busy.
not playing United.
He's just a busy player. Like, he never stops, like, he just causing problems in and out of possession. Like, he'll press, he works hard, but with the ball, he's always trying to make something happen. He's got good close control. His movement's good. He finds little bits of space really well. It's the first time as well I've seen Mitoma.
Me too.
A Japanese player for them as well. He, he got himself involved, and I think he got an assist on the first one, maybe, or the second.
The one that
which one it was.
The one that Trossard put the goalkeeper and down on the ground, and then shot the ball past. Past Cucurella's ex-teammate, like traitor. Put it like they really like played like on some revenge porn shit. It was crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, just good players there, solid team. De Zerbi's getting his ideas across. I find it mad that this Brighton team couldn't score at home against Forest the other week in a 0-0, but then they came in, they banged 4 in against Chelsea. So but obviously that little bit of extra motivation must have helped. And who needs a striker when you've got Chelsea's defenders doing it for you?
They still only scored 2 goals, like Brighton Hove, in a 4-1 game that they won. That's hilarious.
No, credit to them, a great win. And then it's up to Chelsea to see how they respond. I mean, they've got a dead game, I think, in the Champions League this week. I don't think it affects anything. I think they've won their group. They're playing Zagreb, so it'd be interesting to see whether or not Potter
let me see where
goes with something more conventional. But I think we might have said it before, though. The problem with some of these formations is that players in my experience when I've coached, players like consistency, and they like familiarity. And if you're asking players to play a system that they might not have played in their career before, or to play a position they've never played in their career before, it might work out really well. But if it doesn't, like, it will scar them mentally. I remember trying to coach some players to play a back 3 before, and it freaked them out because they'd only ever in their lives trained and played in a back 4.
Right.
And as soon as you try and give some players something different, like, it freaks them out. Like, they don't know when they're on the pitch, they don't know where their reference points are. Like, if you're a centre back in a back 4, your reference points are, okay, I've got my full back, depending on which side they are, the left or the right back, to that side of me. I've got my other centre half partner here. The centre midfielders are there in front of me, kind of thing. And if you start moving things around, players, like, all of a sudden their brains are having to, because I mean, players do so much stuff on autopilot. Like, their brain does it for them without them even needing to think. And when
if people are not where you expect them to be, and you have to take an extra step, it's like, that's why some people prefer the iPhone to the Samsung. Samsung's better, but maybe the iPhone's functionality and things are weird. I've seen people switch and then they come back. They say, it was a better phone, but the iPhone was just more user friendly. I didn't have to take extra steps. So that's a great assessment, like, from you, of like, and that having that experience too.
So I just got to put my cable back in my headphones.
Oh, but like what you were saying, I completely agree with. Like, it's like if you get in a relationship and the person moves into your house, and then you come home, you start looking in the kitchen cupboards for your stuff, and the person moved it around. It's still in the kitchen. The plates are still in the kitchen. The knives are still in the kitchen. The spices are, but now they're in a different place. So for a year, you keep looking for the spice in the place that you used to put it, even though you've gotten it from somewhere else before. And the same thing with the knives and the forks. It's like, yeah, it's because they was showing some highlights on one of the shows, either Match of the Day, like Pulisic did not follow. Who is it? He did not follow either Estupiñán
Stupinan was on his side. Yeah,
all the way down. Was it Estupiñán? No, was it or like for one of the crosses that I think Chalobah put in the back of the net?
I think that was a Stupinan who put that in. Yeah,
Stupiñán. Yeah. And so it's like, you just like, if you're an offensive player and you, or most of the, you do defend if you're a winger, but you defend even more. There's this extra amount of defending you have to do if you're a wing back. And it's almost being a wing back to guys like Pulisic and Sterling is almost like a demotion. It's almost like when you're new and you're trying to earn your way on the team, you put in all this extra hard work just to prove that I can do it. But now it's like, hey man, I earned my way on this team by scoring, but you want me to go all the way back and follow this guy from this team that's beneath us to like, I'm in the press. They're not going to talk about how I defended. They're going to talk about how I didn't score. And this extra defending is going to take away from my scoring. It's like, what? I'm not going all the way back there. Let those three guys back there handle that shit.
I think the idea with it, like with Potter having those players as wing backs, is like he wants to pin the opposition like back in their half. He thinks by playing those guys up there, and you've got a centre forward and you've got attacking midfielders, that it will force a team to just sit in their own half and be pressed back. But the problem is,
got pinned.
Yeah, the problem is you can't play those players high and wide and keep the opposition in their half if they're pressing you high and stopping you from getting the ball to those players. They're useless up there if they're not getting the service.
Yeah, they never even got to get to his part of the game that he set this setup for. It was like, because it's almost like, all right, we'll kick the ball to you and then we'll press you. And this is how the first half is going to be played. And by the time we get to the second half of the game's pretty much over. So
yeah, because that formation with those guys, that's what you play if you're expecting like a low block. If you're expecting a team to just sit in their half, you're like, okay, well, we'll play Sterling and Pulisic as wing backs, and they can just sit there high up the pitch, and they don't really have to do any defending.
Which is bizarre because you didn't train you know this team that you're coming to play, and you did not train them to be a low block team. And you should know that your replacement is your replacement because he was hired because he's like you. So why are you going
he's aggressive,
in there? Yeah, with this setup to do something that's never gonna happen. It's weird. Shout out to Brighton Hove and De Zerbi for getting their first win. There were some players like you mentioned, like Mitoma. First time I ever seen him, but I'll never forget seeing him. Like another one of those buys you never hear about, but Brighton Hove scouting team, which now belongs to Chelsea, found out about. So, and Salcedo, like every time I see him play, my heart breaks, especially when he does good, because we could have got him for $5 million. Man United, he was ready to go to Man United for $5 million, and Man United backed away from it. I think he had like too many people attached to his sale, too many parties, one of those South American deals. So they backed out of it. But and here's the thing, even if he did come to us, who's to say that he'd be in the shape he is now with Brighton Hove, that he would have been in this shape with us? So I can't even say anything. And Estupiñán, his countryman, killing it, Dunk, and March, and my favorite, Trossard. And yeah, man, they're doing their thing over there. And congrats, Brighton Hove, got your first win. We were going to also talk about Southampton. This close, bro. What happened in your game against Crystal Palace? They beat you 1-0.
I mean, shit first half again. We did it last week against Arsenal. We started poor. Like Arsenal could have buried us that first half last week, but they didn't. We changed it tactically in the second half, and we came out and we got the goal to get us a draw. This week we started badly. We were getting killed in the wide areas, especially down our right side, because Livramento and Walker-Peters are both injured at the moment. Livramento is more of a long-term one. Hopefully he'll be back soon, but Walker-Peters got injured recently, so we didn't have any right backs. So we played Lianco, who's a centre back there. And not only is he a centre back, but he's a clumsy centre back. He's a centre back who likes to dive into tackles. He's a walking book in every game. He's quite reckless. And we played him right back, knowing that Zaha was going to be left wing for them. And that's just a terrible, terrible, terrible decision. Like Lianco got booked pretty early on.
So you got a walk-in yellow card to guard Zaha. All right.
Which, to play against the most foul player in the Premier League. So Zaha's he does get kicked a lot, but he's also very good at drawing those fouls. Like he'll rope-a-dope those players. He'll run at them and he'll be like, the ball's right here. You come and get it. And then all of a sudden he just shifts it past them, and then they foul him. He makes them think they can tackle him. Then he does something that takes it away, but they still think they can, and they hit him. So that happened, and it was just happening over and over again. We were giving up too much space for Eze as well, and Elise. Those guys caused us all sorts of problems. Edouard was causing our centre-backs problems. They weren't tracking his movement. And then, Zaha robbed Lianco for the goal. He caught him in possession, took the ball off him. He laid the ball to, I can't remember who it was, outside of him.
To Edouard? You mean on the inside?
He played someone on the outside who then crossed for Edouard to score. I can't remember who it was. So Zaha won it, played in someone, and then it might have been Mitchell, maybe. But either way, it was a good goal from Palace. And that first half, they terrorised us. They could have scored more goals. They had one disallowed, which was only just offside. They caused us all sort of problems. I think as well, we were kind of unfortunate that they did get humped by Everton last week, because I think it made them want to react this week. And they came out and started that game like they wanted to do something. So, credit to them for that. But then second half, we made a sub at half time. We changed it up, and that sub brought a little bit more control to our game. Maitland-Niles in there, and Che Adams had the chances. He had the chances.
Snap, Che.
It's the problem with him. Like I've said on here before, like there's some games like when we played Leicester away earlier this year where he scored 2 goals and he won us the game 2-1, and then this one, he's missed 2 pretty big chances because he's not a consistent striker like we had with Ings, for example. Ings was a 15 to 20 goal a season striker. Che Adams is a 10 goal a season striker. Some of those games will be some of those goals will be crucial and they'll win us games, but it's hard to move up the table and be consistent when you've got strikers who aren't capable of scoring and being clinical in those chances, because that's the Premier League. Sometimes you only get 1 or 2 good chances, and you need players who will take them. You don't get 10 opportunities as one player, as a striker, to score. You need to be scoring in those 1, 2, 3 opportunities, not 10. He didn't score. Stuart Armstrong hit the post as well. So we had chances. Second half, we came back and we could have got it, but that first half cost us. If it was 0-0 at half time, we could have maybe pinched something or at least got a draw. But that first half killed us, and we need to start games better. Otherwise, we can't always rely on coming back into a game, especially, with our forwards. They're not going to always take their chances. So, it's poor. We're 1 point above the relegation zone at the moment, which is too close to comfort for my liking, really, because some of the teams down there are capable of getting results. So I think it's Wolves, Forest, Leicester beneath us, maybe. Let me
look at it too.
A little double check. I've got the table here.
Forest, Wolves, Leicester, and we know Leicester can. And again, it's that crazy early part of the season where 1 win. I was looking at it earlier. 1 win by your team, you have 12
we go
points.
To 12. Yeah, we go all the way up to 12 if we win. If we won a game.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, so you're all the way up to 12 from there to there. So
But like
who
while
you got?
we're
Who you
while
got this week coming up?
we have Newcastle.
Oh boy,
I
where
mean,
you
we're
playing
at
them at?
home. We're at
Oh,
home.
okay.
We play a little better at home, but I mean, Newcastle are traveling well at the moment. They dominated Tottenham at at the Spurs Stadium. So yeah, they're they're good. They're strong. They're yeah. It's. I mean, I'm not expecting much from this game right now, just because of the form they're in. Almiron's balling out. Wilson's balling out. It's yeah, Trippier doing his thing as well. So I've got 3 Newcastle players in my fantasy team. That's more players than I've got. The only other team I've got 3 players from is Man City. So
That's
it's,
huge. That's huge. That says a lot.
yeah, yeah, I'm willing
Yeah,
to back their form. So um,
you
yeah, I mean,
you'll do good next week if you view them as a top 4 team. It's your mentality because you do good against the top teams, right? Like
yeah, I mean,
like
we
who is
beat
this?
Chelsea at home. We drew with Arsenal at home.
So don't look at them as like and I like I told you this week too before the game on the last podcast. I was like, jump on Crystal Palace early. They start slow, but I guess your team when you called them it and gave them the pregame speech on the Zoom like you normally do at Southampton. I'm just making that up. They didn't listen to you, or maybe you told them the opposite. Start the game slow, like you did against Arsenal last week. But you did good against Arsenal. Who else did you do good against?
We beat Chelsea at home.
Beat Chelsea. So you have to like, hey
Yeah,
man, this is a top 4 team. And so we have to bring our top 4 team mentality to this,
absolutely.
and not look at them like Newcastle broke Newcastle with no money before the oil country adopted them. You got to look at them like, no, this is a legit team, and then maybe that energy will get you something out of that game. But yeah, because people, teams either step up to the big teams or they're like, oh, we can't beat them and then shrink to them. But you guys, I think you guys at least with the top teams, like, no, we're going to give it a go. Like you have more pride, when it comes to the big teams.
Yeah, like I said, yeah, I hope we can get at them. But I mean, if I just feel like if they get the first goal, they'll win in this one. So they're
You
too good.
sound
They're too good
beaten.
right now. Then they're not a flimsy team like they used to be in the past.
Well,
They've
City's
got
better than them, and so is Arsenal. So
yeah, they got a killer instinct right now though. So I mean, we'll see. Hopefully we can turn them over because we don't like Eddie Howe. He was my Bournemouth manager for a while. At one point, apparently, he was holding out for our job because he didn't want to leave the area because the 2 teams are really close. So
they should have fired your guy because you'd have a good
yeah,
ass coach right now.
maybe.
Uh,
But again, this is the problem with Hasenhüttl. He has this little good unbeaten run, and then he goes back to just a poor game with poor management again. So we'll see what the next few games bring. But it's I think while we're down there, I think the board would be worried about us. While down there, we're in the mix. It's okay, but if teams start to pull away from us a little bit, or if we get dropped into that zone because Leicester start getting some results, which I think they will. They've got good players. Then yeah, we might have some problems.
yeah, but don't forget there's those teams above you that they're gonna fall past you too. So it
True.
doesn't just
Yeah. I
work.
mean,
It ain't one way traffic.
yeah. I mean, I still think that the Leeds result against Liverpool was maybe putting a band-aid over some other problems that might come back for them. They just they caught Liverpool on not their greatest day, so it depends whether that gives Leeds some confidence to then go on and get some results, or if it was just we caught Liverpool off guard, but then we're going to go back to how we were.
Right. All right. We'll talk about the Leeds game too because we have to talk about America's Premier League team. But let's deal with Man United and get that conversation not out of the way. But let me just tell you something, man. We got some unsung or sung heroes on this United team. And I watched Match of the Day, and they show you the game, but they also showed like some of the end of the game after the whistle had blown, and the way like Martinez is like hugging and shoving De Gea, and going up to Shore, and they're like, and this is the Shore that just saved Mason Mount's life the week before, because he's been training with Martinez and he knows he's not to play with. And those two guys are in each other's chests. Like, and I was like, I just love the love, bro. Like the love this defense has and the pride in defending is like I've only loved offenses the way I love this defense right now, and the pride that they take in like shutting the team out. And especially, and they were really tested at the end of this game. Like I just went from watching Match of the Day, saw how many chances. Like we hit the post with Fred, but they really were like on us. They were really pressing us. This was like a nail-biting end to a game, and it was spooky as any haunted house. Like it felt like they were going to do something. But De Gea's top shelf saving, like vintage, old school, prime De Gea, like he's revved up. And just the way he came out the box early in the first half and shut down that play after Maguire got sold out. And I want to shit on Maguire a little bit, but listen, it's his first game back in a minute. He made mistakes when he was playing on a regular basis. So he's definitely going to lunge in too early and sell himself out and sell the team out later on. But thank God Martinez was back there to back him up in the first half and correct a mistake that he made when he tackled somebody and lost the 50-50 and the person got away. And thank God De Gea was there to like, and which he's been doing a lot recently, is coming out of his box and playing sweeper keeper. And listen, I was going to find a clip too, I'm jumping around, of me saying in the beginning of the season, before it started, about let's not hurry to get a right back. I think the lot is going to be good. Because sometimes I like to make calls when everybody's against it. And I said that. Like, so Delot, I believed in him. He did great at, was it Inter or AC Milan? I think it was
AC, I think you went on loan too.
So he has a title. He actually has a title, you know?
Was he there for the title
for
or
last,
not? I think no, they won the title last season. He came back before they won the title.
Before that, all right.
Yeah, because he played under
second.
Because it was Ranić who sort of put him back in the team, wasn't it? A lot.
A little bit, yeah.
But which was last, yeah.
Right, but I think the loan was really good for him, and so his improvement is a surprise and a not so surprise, because I don't have to find the footage, but I'm and then listen, I don't give up on people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't give up on bad movies. I'll be watching a movie, people that's terrible, and people be walking out, and I'll be like, nah, man, this movie took so much money to make, and so many great minds are involved in this movie that there has to be a twist at the end that makes this movie good. And I'll sit till the credits roll and be like, I can't believe they didn't turn this movie around. So then I'm the same way with players. I'm like, nah, I've seen this person make good moves in a game, so why couldn't they do that throughout a whole game? They do that throughout one game. Can they do it through a bunch of games? Like, I even still believe in Wan-Bissaka. Like, why couldn't he learn to go forward? He's a good defender. So I have not given up on him. Luke Shaw, I was just waiting for him to come back and show what he showed the year before. And thank God, last year, yeah, we needed him, but this year is better. It's a World Cup year. Now you can go to the World Cup in form. So he's back. Rashford, I've been waiting for that car to start back up and start driving like it could, and he's doing that shit. And like even the games when he didn't score and the fans were frustrated, I said, don't you see this thing heating up? Don't you see it's turning into the thing? You gotta watch the Hulk turn into the Hulk before he starts smashing shit. He doesn't just start smashing shit. He's got to turn green, get greener. His pants got to rip. His muscles got to start bulging to then maximize. And then he starts smashing shit. He doesn't do it right away. So, like, and Bruno Fernandes, a few games ago, fans was like, we need to rest Bruno. It's like, just, he's fine. Like, the Newcastle game was one of our best games. It was better than this game. The only thing is, we got the 3 points. We played way better in the Newcastle game. We dominated that same team that you were talking about. They're a dangerous team. They're fourth now.
Mm.
And then to do that to them, that and doing what we did to Chelsea, even though we got to be, I can see where we need improvement when Potter made those changes in the Chelsea game, and I can see where we lack squad depth. So I after this game, I came up with the fix for what we could have done in this game to have better ball retention towards the end of the game when West Ham started like running sorties and kind of wailing on us. Like, what I would have did if I was Ten Hag, and this is just a suggestion, is first of all, we should have just started Sancho instead of Elanga. And this is why. In the preseason, Sancho was on the right, and he had a great preseason with him on the right, Anthony Marshall in the middle, and Rashford on the left. So then we bought, and I think he started the game against Liverpool on the right. Then we bought Anthony, the Brazilian Anthony, and we gave him the right and put Sancho on the left. And a lot of players, or a lot of fans, or a lot of people think, and even probably Ten Hag thinks that, like, Sancho is better on the left, but he's not. I think majority of his games, like, because we were so interested in buying him, I watched a lot of Dortmund games, because Dortmund is just an entertaining team to watch, and they had Haaland and they had Jude. He played most of those games for Dortmund on the right. But for some reason, in the minds of United fans, we've made Sancho this left-sided player. But if you go back to preseason, he was super effective on the right. So if Anthony's out, just play Sancho on the right. And I know Elanga needs playing time, but just put him in towards the end of the game when he's fresh and a road runner fast, and put him on a tired ass team. So I would have did that, especially since he rested Sancho midweek versus I think it was Sharif. And I would have did that. Or if you don't start Sancho, when we needed to get the ball back and you put on Fred, who is afraid of the ball in the air for some reason, for a grown-ass professional. There's this one clearance that he got the ball and he jumped too early and it's just grazed his head, and the ball went straight to a West Ham player, and they came back at us out of a corner or a free kick or something like that. Like, Sancho would have deaded that ball and at least made a dribble or just kept it for us, you know? So if you're gonna, who did they take out the game? I think we took Eriksen out the game. Who did we take out? And we put in like Fred and McTominay just to get more control. Drop in Sancho, you know, drop in Sancho. Just somebody who could hold the ball. And next week, we don't have Bruno Fernandes, because he has a certain amount of yellow cards. So we could try Sancho as is that an 8 that Fernandes plays, or 10? 8.
He's sort of a hybrid. He can do both.
Yeah, that's just, you know, he's got that type of game. You know, since they don't think he's being as effective as he can on the wings. But we got, you know, so, but shout out to most of our team, all of our team, just for the spirit, man. It's beautiful to see. Like, it's almost as good as watching amazing football. And we played some really good football in the first part of the game. We pressed them, we dominated. And I know they got their numbers closer to ours as the game went on in the second half. But yeah, man, it's beautiful to watch. And even the threat that they caused at the end of the game, in retrospect, after we survived the moment, going back to those moments when we had to do some last minute ditch defending, and us doing it and like loving each other as we did it, that's worth the fear that I felt as I watched it. And there's one more thing, but go ahead and I'll try to remember what that thing was.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have been kind of stealthy, just creeping up on that top four. Just quietly getting those results in the bag, like you say. You know, draw at home to Newcastle wasn't a bad result. You know, you dominated Tottenham. You even going back to, like, you know, just a really, really big 3 points against Arsenal, where you suckered them in and countered them. And you know, it's good to see Rashford score. It's just hoping that he can stay fit and then play consistently as well, because on his day, I think he's such a quality player, but he just needs to show it week in, week out. That's his challenge now, because he's in there. You know, it's in him to be a game changer at the top level in the Premier League. He just needs to find the ability to do it often. But I mean, yeah, I mean, those scenes at the end of the game when the players are going crazy, celebrating the defending and stuff. I mean, you've got to love that, and you know, I think that's great for team spirit, and it shows a level of togetherness that maybe there hasn't been at United in a little while now. You know, Ten Hag seems to be good at getting the dressing room, you know, in a happy place. I think that's where these results are coming from. You know, the players are enjoying that. I think it might have been Gary Neville talking, where he was saying that this is the first United team he's seen in a while who can play through the middle of the pitch now. When you've got Eriksen and Fernandes in there together, because they're two players, and Casemiro obviously as well. You know, these are guys who can handle the ball. You know, that was Casemiro's job at Real Madrid, was win the ball, give it to Modric or Cruz.
Right.
Then they can distribute it. Whereas now he's here, and it's like, win the ball, give it to Eriksen or Fernandes.
Yeah.
And you know, those guys are. They give you a nice balance in there. When it goes well, it looks really good. And you know, it's up to Ten Hag to be smart enough. Like you say, he saw that you needed to solidify things a bit, and you know, McTominay came in, Fred came in. It's it's interesting to see it starting to come together there. I still think you maybe need one or two more recruits to really
100%
push you on, and we'll see if he does that in January, or you might have to wait until the summer, because the right players aren't always available in January. But I think, you know, United fans, all the ones I know, including yourself, seem happy that the project's moving sort of in the right direction, and it'd be interesting to see where the ceiling is under Ten Hag, where he can push you onto, because you know, like I said, there's plenty of opportunity this season with some teams not doing as well, like Liverpool and Chelsea, who, you know, whose spot you could take.
Yeah, we'd love to take this spot, but if we don't, I'm fine with it. Like, I'm not going to get, again, it's like, it would have to be like 3 games left from like right there, and there's a possibility for it. You know, I still wouldn't be disappointed, you know, with 5, but the year after, next year, I'd expect something. I just want this style of play to continue to grow, like to have a dominating midfield with skilled players who like push hard and hunt. And then I also understand we just need the depth, because some of our players were tired. Like even Ten Hag said it, like West Ham had a midweek game, but they rested like 8 starters. So they had a fresher 8 than us. And our guys, we just play our best team every time. Now, we don't mess around. We're like, you know, gone are the days when, oh, we have such a big roster, let's switch the whole team. We can't do that. You can't like put players who would normally start if somebody else wasn't ahead of you, but you respect how good this person is, and just put them in with people that you would never start, and then expect a result. It's like we'll play one of those people who could start or 2 or we'll play somebody if there's an injury, but we're not switching the whole team. Like Ragnick did that once when we were on a run, and when he just got there, we had some wins, and it ended our winning streak. And he never recovered from that. And then I think Ten Hag kind of like made a big switch during one of the games, and then he could see how ineffective that second squad was, and you just can't do that. You know, you need to completely establish your first squad and see what the pieces are that can come in and supplement and complement things when some players are missing. There's no more complete switching. So we definitely need better depth, and we'll see how he handles it. I don't remember.
If you could only get one player in one position, it doesn't have to be the name of a player, but if there's one position, what would be your one that you'd sign in January if you could fix one position?
It would have to be another 8 who could also be a 6. Not 6. What does Ericsson play? What position is he?
Ericsson's like an 8, but he can drop deeper. He's like I say, he sort of flips between the two roles.
Like Frankie de Jong was the right call. Like it's like just for my peace of mind, because some people say a right back, but I've seen Malacio play right back as a backup to Dalot or to give Dalot a rest, and he was solid over there. So I'm like, you giving me one player? We don't need any more forwards. We got 4 central defenders. You know, we got some injury right now, but we expect some of those players to come back. So I wouldn't say there. It's just I need our midfield. I need us to own the middle of the pitch. You know, I want when, like, you don't have to put in Fred, who's afraid sometimes, because Fred does get afraid sometimes. I want to put in someone who's fearless when they get the ball. Like, we wouldn't have been as much trouble at the end of this game yesterday as we were today if we had that person. So, yeah.
It's fair enough.
Let's see. Before we go to Champions League, let's do Arsenal real quick, because they bashed Forest. They bombarded them. The first half was boring as shit. Like, they got the one, and you're like, ugh. Like, the first half of the Man City game was boring as shit. Like, I thought it was just me, but when they dominate people like that, and the game is just in one half, it gets kind of boring. Even though because it's good, bad football. It's like, you have the ball, the other team is just in the low block, and nothing is happening. It's just going back and forth, but just one team has the ball. There's no transition, there's no counter transition. There's just like one guy, a fight where somebody just, in an MMA fight, when somebody's just on top of someone, the whole fight. There's no standing up fighting. It's just all on the ground, and the person's just trying to get them in the choke, but can't just manage to do it. But they're in the position to do it all the time. So Nottingham Forest, Arsenal. But then in the second half, man, Arsenal opened up a can of whoop ass on them. They just found that way to react. And I guess the injury to Saka kind of helped. But one thing where Arsenal's ahead of us, when I watched them play over the last few weeks, it's just their forwards, and we're doing it a little bit, but not as much of them, are never static. Those people, they find some way to move. Like, they've been rehearsing so much, they can figure out a space. Even Reiss Nelson, great game for him, came in to replace Saka. Especially his second goal proves how much they look for movement on their front line. Like, he got in that little crease, and Gabriel Jesus found him in the only way he could have found him, and Reiss finished it the only way he could have finished it for that split moment, for that split second. Bam, second goal in the net. And but whenever they're in some low block, it was tough the first half, like after the first goal, but that's when they just started moving. And then if somebody will, either Partey will pull up or Xhaka will pull up and run into a space, as they did for some of their goals in this game, and they'll shift the low block around and find the spaces in the shift and shoot from there. And it's just like, yeah, watch the fluidity of their front players, because, man, they keep it moving. They'll jog on the spot. You know what I mean? When you get to a traffic light and you stop jogging, these motherfuckers jog at the light. keep it moving, keep getting the workout going. So I got to credit them for that. But 5-0, the Forest, the team that beat Liverpool the week before, great result.
I'd forgotten Reiss Nelson even existed still.
We do now, right? Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I had to look it up. Like, he was on loan at Feyenoord last season. He had a little one at Hoffenheim a couple of seasons before that as well. But I mean, with Saka injured, he's got a little chance to stake a claim there. So hopefully it's not a serious one for Saka. I'm wanting back, especially for England in the World Cup as well. Because I think he's become a really crucial player. Either as a starter or an option off the bench for England. So hopefully he's okay. But yeah, Arsenal got the job done. So not much more to add to what you said there.
Right. You want to just cover some? Is there anything else you think is important in the?
I mean, Spurs has come back. I mean, I hate to give them credit, but
yeah. All right, Martin.
I mean, Bournemouth kind of collapsed really. I mean, I was enjoying the Bournemouth going 2-0 up. Davinson Sanchez was pretty much trying to play himself out of a career at the back there. But no, Kiefer Moore did well. He's Wales' starting centre forward. He doesn't normally start for Bournemouth. He's normally on the bench, but they put him with Solanke this time, and he got 2 goals. He took them well as well.
Warm him up for the World Cup a little bit.
Yeah, he did well. But I think I said in the chat, didn't I? I said I think Bournemouth will crumble here. I don't think they'll hold on to this.
I know. I said what I said, and then I said famous last words. But I did think Bournemouth, just on form since Parker has been fired, has been mostly up until the last 2 weeks getting results. So I was like, I've seen it come back against teams they ain't supposed to come back against. So I was like, they have 2 up against Spurs. They could get something out of this game. Maybe not to win, but they disappointed me. Bournemouth, you disappointed me. You broke my heart, Bournemouth.
And that second half, I mean, for some of those goals, the Bournemouth keeper was playing like he had money on Spurs to win. He was coming out and just waving his arms around just on some of those corners and stuff. So I mean, begrudgingly credit to Spurs. They made the changes. They got back in the game. But it's just lucky Spurs again, and that they're getting results they shouldn't be getting, but they're grinding them out. I think Conte wanted to leave some of those players on the bench for tomorrow, to keep them fresh for tomorrow, but he had to throw them in. So I'm a big Marseille fan this week.
Hilarious. I mean, the way you described the Bournemouth goalkeeping, it's like a scarf hanging on a clothing line in the wind. That type of goalkeeping. It was like you ain't gonna stop nothing from getting by.
He's like one of those wacky waving arm inflatable tube guys
in front of the car, used cars place. Yeah,
that's it.
I want to shit on Spurs, but beware of the team that always wins and gets the 3 points. Like, the way we feel about the team at one point of the season is always different. And, like, it's like United, like, we realize the value in points. So even when we don't play well, or we have like a horror show at the end of the match, what we look at the end of that game was we got the 3. And Spurs be getting the 3. So beware. Like, it's Conte. He's getting the 3 the way Conte gets 3s. We say it's ineffective, but it's effective. This motherfuckers, where they at?
Well, if they'd lost that game, that would have been 3 losses on the road for them though in the league.
They didn't though, and I want to be with you 100%, but they didn't though. And beware of the team that always gets the 3.
Yeah, I need them to knock that shit off though.
Yeah. But will they? I don't know if they're gonna listen to us.
Hopefully, I mean, well, they got Liverpool on Sunday, so.
How great of a shape is Liverpool in? Jesus Christ! So
maybe Liverpool. This way, Liverpool turn it around.
Yeah, maybe Liverpool will step up and treat them like Man City. Let me go to the Champions League right quick. Do some quick shit before we get out. What do you have the the results. How we doing in the fantasy league?
Oh, I did okay this week because I mean I had Haaland as my captain, and he
didn't play.
he obviously didn't play, but luckily my number 2, my vice captain was Martinelli. So he got me a goal, but my other choice for vice captain, I was undecided. I didn't know whether to go Martinelli against Forest or Callum Wilson against Villa. And I thought, Villa played well last week because Gerrard's gone. They'll be good this week again. And, Arsenal playing Forest. So I went with Martinelli. I wish I'd gone Wilson because he got 2 goals and 2 goals and an assist. So I would have got better points for that. But yeah. But let me just log in.
I would have went with Callum if I was you.
Well, in hindsight, yeah.
No. I think Callum always, only when he's injured, he doesn't do good. I just realized that he's 30 years old, and this is probably his last chance to kind of make it work. But Callum Wilson, if it wasn't for injuries, man, he's just one of those guys. If it wasn't for injuries, when he plays and the way Newcastle plays, Callum Wilson all day. He's gonna have a good season.
But both players ended up playing in big wins. So Wilson played in a 4-0 win, Martinelli played in a 5-0 win. So I knew those teams would do well in those games, but I thought Arsenal would probably be more attacking. But yeah, I mean, I did okay. I got 70 points this week. That's a decent week.
Would you believe me if I told you I started Reiss Nelson in my fantasy league?
No, no, I wouldn't. But you did okay. You got 53 points. You're you got a bit of daylight between you and the bottom. That's not too bad.
Where am I now?
You are 27th out of 34.
All right, and I haven't been doing anything. I just left it.
Yeah,
but I'm going to reset that team.
Neil's 32nd out of 34. His Cobham team ain't doing that well. I'm 9th out of 34. I climbed 1 place, I think, this weekend. Martin's still 2nd. But I have more points. I closed in a little bit on him this week. But number 1 this week is Boca FC, which is Joachim Henriksson. Don't know if he's Scandinavian or not. That's like a Swedish name, but he might be like from the Midwest or something.
What if he made up a team name and a
username?
Real name? Yeah.
Who knows? But he only got 61 points this week, so he must have already been up there. But he did okay. But top scorer for the week.
Work in and just got that. Ooh.
Yeah, he only got 61 points. Mine got 62. I got 70. But there's a couple of people that got in the 80s. Gajan Lau, who's been top before with Hello You Can't Kante. He got 81. Lyle Gillen with Darwin's best friend, he got 80 points. So a couple of guys got in the 80s. Eduardo Tamayo, he got 83. Thomas Cogley with the big band, he got 90. I think he was the only person to get 90. Let me see if he captained Wilson or something. He got the points I should have got. Did he captain Wilson? Oh shit, no, he had De Bruyne as his vice captain. So he got double points for De Bruyne, but he had Jesus, he had Almiron, he had Trippier, he had Saliba and Gabriel at the back, who both got clean sheets for Arsenal. Pickford, who got a clean sheet plus some bonus points for Everton. So yeah, he had a good week. 90 points is a decent score in that week. But yeah, that's how we're looking in the fantasy.
All right, fantasy. Thank you, everybody that's playing a fantasy and doing that with us. Stop beating me, please. It's disrespectful. But I'm gonna do. I keep saying it. I haven't been doing a lot of shit that I'm saying, but I'm gonna take a look at my team and maybe make some adjustments if the app cooperates. It hasn't been cooperating with me, and that's my excuse. Tomorrow, you say you're a big Marseille fan. Tottenham versus Marseille. That's for who wins the group.
It could dump Tottenham out the group. I mean, it could dump Marseille out the group as well, because that group's tight. Tottenham are top with 8. Sporting and Frankfurt are both on 7, and Marseille's on 6. So if Marseille win and one of if Marseille win and Sporting draw or win, they both go through. It's looking tight. I think if Spurs finish level with Frankfurt, they go through on head-to-head. I might be wrong there, but yeah. So the result we need is Marseille to beat Tottenham, Sporting to either win or draw against Frankfurt. That would see Tottenham go out into the Europa League. So that's the permutation I'm hoping for. Obviously, there's some ex-Arsenal boys at Marseille as well. Alexis Sanchez is there. Guendouzi's there. Guendouzi's there. Nuno Tavares is on loan there. So these guys should be a
derby.
Yeah, these guys should be hyped up for this shit. Let's get it going. Come on, guys.
Yeah, come on, guys. Do something. Liverpool, Napoli too. That's for the top of the group. And then Liverpool, especially after losing this weekend, last minute to Leeds. And we didn't talk about the Leeds game, but Jesse Marsch, stay of execution. The prayers worked, and and it's normally they play this hard and lose the game. This time they played hard and won it, and that means they got to keep playing hard, and it's tough. It's one of those leagues where football period you could play great and lose on a consistent basis if you don't have that finisher like Bamford, man. I want Bamford to succeed, but he's very nervous. Talk about someone who looks like he has no confidence. Like every time he gets a touch in the box and he has a chance to put a shot away, he either makes it savable or blows the chance at taking the shot. And even one of his I guess it was a bad control, led to a goal, the winning goal. So he gets an assist, I'm assuming. But if you're watching football, football, he probably didn't 100% mean to do that yesterday. So Bamford, man, just relax, baby. Breathe before the game. You're going to be fine. You scored 14 goals in your first season. This is your third season. You could do this, Keep Jesse Marsch up. Liverpool, Napoli for the top of the group, I guess.
Yeah, that's interesting, that one. Because, Liverpool, Champions League, they've been a little bit better. Obviously, they got that pasting in Napoli, but other than that, they've won all their other games. So they've taken care of Ajax twice. They've taken care of Rangers twice. This will be interesting because Napoli are in such good form. They've got, a really good team right now. Diego Simeone's son's there, balling out, scoring goals.
Oh, he's scoring? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he got 2, I think, in the last game.
Is he allowed to score like that coming from such a defensive dad?
Yeah, he's smashing those stereotypes. And they've got the Georgian wonder kid as well. See if I can pronounce this because I always struggle with it. Kvaratskhelia, who he scored at the weekend.
Enough to me.
Yeah, he scored at the weekend again. Every time I watch him play, he's just crazy good. He just makes stuff happen every week. And Victor Osimhen, the forward as well.
Oh yeah,
he's on form. He hit a hat-trick at the weekend. He's a player I think a lot of Premier League clubs are going to be looking at in the summer. I don't think Napoli will let him go before the summer, but
they keep talking about 100 million to us. Yeah. Like we don't need that. We got some shit for the league. We got some potential players.
But yeah, he's a good player. So it'd be interesting to see where he maybe ends up next year. But he's for the moment he's doing it at Napoli. So yeah, it's going to be a really good game. Obviously the game where Napoli gave Liverpool beating, that was in Napoli, so they got to go to Anfield now and see what they get there. But they're through, so it's kind of the pressure's off a little bit. You don't want to finish second this year because there's some good teams out there who are top in the groups, but they're both through, so the guarantee takes the edge off a little bit.
No, it's crazy. PSG still needs to beat Juventus to finish top of their group, especially after the beating that they gave Maccabi Haifa. They're tied with Benfica 11, and the Benfica gets to rough up Maccabi Haifa this week, and play, be the exchange bully. So PSG might not finish at the top of the group. I don't know if it matters in Champions League, but that's interesting. And Barcelona gets to play a warm-up game because it means nothing. They just get to practice for the Europa League tomorrow. Yeah. They should just move that game to Thursday, literally to Thursday, because none of the teams, Barca or Plizen, is in the Champions League any longer. So just move the game. Move it to Thursday. Like, why are they playing in the Champions League? None of them, they're not in the Champions League. They're both
it's
out.
Harsh, but it's fair. It's harsh, but it's fair.
Yeah. It's like, why are two teams that are not in the Champions League playing on a Champions League night? It does not make it. They shouldn't hear the music. They should play the Europa League theme tomorrow when Barcelona plays. They should not play the Champions League theme. That is crazy. They're not in it. They're not in it. This is a holdover game that they have to play. They either or don't play it. So what if Barcelona's like, hey, we ain't showing up? What's gonna happen? Nothing. Like, save your energy. Yeah. And I'm just trying to look at anybody's. Chelsea kind of have to win just to make sure that Milan doesn't, because if Milan wins, but let me see what Chelsea's playing. See if it's how tough it's going to be. Chelsea.
I mean, that was the game that got Tuchel sacked, wasn't it?
Yeah. They had Dynamo Zagreb. I don't mean to talk about your Dynamo like you ain't nothing, but yeah. They owe them a revenge, and to make sure that they finish at the top of the group. So
I think they finished. I think they finished top. I think they finished top regardless, because they haven't lost to Milan. So Milan can tie with them on points, but I think it goes head to head before it goes goal difference. And Chelsea didn't lose to Milan at all, so I think they're safe. I think.
All right, Chelsea. If you just want to, rest on the laurels of that and not take this shot to give Dynamo Zagreb what they gave to you, you know what I mean? Fine. If you just are cool with taking it easy, when this team that clearly had no respect for you and got your old coach fired, or yeah, man, just fine. Don't do anything. Take it easy tomorrow. All right. We'll get out of Champions League. I think that's all pretty much. And I'll spring this one thing on you. What do you think about the Ukraine petitioning FIFA to ban Iran from the World Cup? Because I think Iran has been providing drones and stuff, and they don't have a good human rights record. Iran has been providing Russia with drones that the Russians have been using on the Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because it's Ukraine is saying that Iran should be banned for human rights violations. Mm-hmm. The tournament's being held in a country that loves violating human rights. So it's like,
oh shit! Good point.
So if we're going into that,
and FIFA, then the people they're appealing to gave it to that country, awarded the tournament to the country that violates or loves violating human rights. So why would they be like, sure, you're right?
And then, but how it's where do you draw the line with these things? Because you could look at the Roe v. Wade thing getting overturned in the US and going, human rights are being violated. It's where do you, there's people in the US who can't even turn on their taps and get clean water and stuff. It's like, there's shit going on everywhere. The stuff in Iran is pretty fucked up. Right. It's pretty bad. The people are being oppressed. But if let me say, if I have a look at the World Cup, I'm pretty sure I could go through almost every country and go, yeah, doing some fucked up shit as well there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how we perceive it a lot of the time, because there's some countries that are getting away with some pretty heinous shit.
Right.
You know, ourselves included, the UK sells friggin' weapons to Saudi Arabia that they go and use on the Yemeni people. So it's, I mean, countries all got dirt. They're all doing dirt out there
There'd
right
be no
now.
tournament. There'd be no tournament.
There wouldn't be. So it's where do you draw the line on that sort of stuff? I don't know if it's just an out of spite thing, or why can't I get the World Cup on here? Oh, fucking Google.
Mm-hmm. Paul Pogba's out
2022.
too. Or he's out. He'll miss the first round. France's whole squad is out.
Yeah, but yeah, there's some of those countries there not great. I mean, and if someone like China had qualified, would they, would anyone appeal that because of the stuff there? It's like I say, there's a lot of dirt out there. But yeah, Iran, it's some pretty messed up stuff that's going there. I don't like the fact that they still ban women from stadiums and things like that. And yeah, it's pretty messed up what they're doing. But like I say, it's there's a lot of countries who could have some fingers pointing back at them if they join those calls as well. So, and like I say, the fact that the tournament's being held in a pretty oppressive, nation as well. So, yeah, it's murky, it's grubby. There's we could really get into it on this. We probably don't have the time. So, yeah, I'm staying out of that shit.
Yeah, good point. That's all I can say. I have a friend. He lives in Qatar. I might try to get him on the podcast closer to when the World Cup is about to start. And he's a comic and an MC, and he does a lot of work there. He's been to like all the stadiums and stuff like doing and hosting like all these big events. And yeah, so we'll have him on. See what's up. But yeah, thanks for joining. Great podcast. We started a little bit late because of England daylight saving time compared to America. We didn't even change our shit yet. We're hanging on to ours.
Rush back from a show.
Yeah, it's so funny when you say, "Oh shit, it's the time change in England." And I was like, "Yeah, we didn't even change ours yet. I forgot when we're going to change ours. We can't have Halloween and change our time at the same time because you're going to have witches out when they're not supposed to be."
I think it's in like 4 days or something, your one. So we'll be back on the same schedule next week. But yeah, there's always a week crossover. Yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah, it is. Well, thanks, fam. And thanks everybody listening. Thanks everybody watching. If you love the podcast, like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let's hear what you think about what we discuss, and we'll respond back. All right, y'all. Peace.
Cheers.